The Vikings looking to get to 4-1 on Sunday as they host the Chicago Bears. Right now, they're 2-2. And after Sunday, Minnesota will have completed the first slate of games against divisional opponents. Let's talk about it. For the Vikings offensively, Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill, this should be their get-right game. In fact, the Vikings offensive line as a whole, I expect for them to be forged steel on Sunday because the Chicago Bears defensive line, I don't know how else to really say this. They are god-awful. And that includes Robert Quinn, who last year got 18 and a half sacks. He's not the same player right now. Last Sunday against the Giants, left tackle Andrew Thomas put him through the cleaners. I expect big things from O'Neill and Darrisaw and the interior. When it comes to the battle up front in the trenches, the Vikings should win that matchup. But it doesn't get much better at the second level for Chicago. That is with the exception of Roquan Smith, who's basically the equivalent of the perfect medium rare tomahawk steak surrounded by ramen. This dish I present to you, I call that the Chicago Bears front seven. Roquan Smith right now leads the league in tackles on pace for just shy of 200 for the season. Account for 58, and the Vikings can and should have success on the ground as the Bears have the league's worst run defense. Dalvin Cook, he gets to showcase his talents before getting traded to Denver. Alexander Mattison, he adds another 50 yards or so. I hate how this is set up because when the stars align with the run game, it's so obvious that the Vikings will go off that they obviously won't go off, if that makes sense. And if the Vikings do struggle with the running game and everything's left up to Captain Kirk to save the day, what he's up against in Chicago's secondary, maybe cornerback Jalen Johnson. That's if he plays. He's missed the last 2 games with a quad injury and on Wednesday's injury report was a DNP. If he does end up playing, assuming he can pick up where he left off the first 2 games of the season, physical corner, very active even at the line of scrimmage against the run and the screen game. In coverage, he's annoying. Nothing easy against this guy. I don't think he has a weakness in his game. If the opportunity presents itself, he'll deliver a crushing hit as legal as it gets. So if he does end up playing, don't avoid him altogether. Just be methodical with your targets on the assignment that he has on that particular play. If he doesn't play, everything I just said, throw it in the trash. On the deep plays, Kirk Cousins, you got to be aware of where Eddie Jackson is, and not just the deep plays at all times, but especially the deep plays, because the 2 areas where Kirk Cousins has struggled so far this year, inaccurate throws and the tendency to lock down on the third down checkdowns, that plays right into the hands of Eddie Jackson for cleanup duty. Fellow safety Jaquan Brisker is a heat-seeking missile. Any player, any ball carrier within 7 yards of the line of scrimmage, just brace for contact. Brace for the big hit. Even if it doesn't happen, better safe than sorry. These tight ends that we have dropping everything, I worry about them because with the Bears safeties closing in, any sort of butterfingers followed by the big hit, that could turn into a big play for Chicago's defense, a possible turnover. You can't be soft. And obviously, Jefferson, he's going to get most of the attention, rightfully so. Perhaps the safeties go too deep to account for he and Adam Thielen, but I think this is a game set up for the KJ Osborne takeover. Lots of single coverage expected his way. Kirk Cousins, trust your receiver, no underthrown passes. Offensive line, they should win the trenches. Run game should be solid. You should be fine. For the Vikings defense, looking like running back Khalil Herbert's in line for a second straight start as David Montgomery listed as a DNP. This concerns me, and it doesn't even matter who's in at running back for the Bears because while the Bears are the league's worst run defense, the Vikings are 23rd against the rush. The Bears' offensive line, their pass protection is butt-ass, but their run blocking is really good. And for Khalil Herbert, I say this as the biggest compliment. He's not going to juke you out. He's not going to put on any magic cutbacks. He's just really good at running the football. Add their run blocking, this can create problems for the Vikings defense. So, again, I feel like we have this on repeat all season long. Vikings defense, please stop the run. Hopefully we can get some pressure up front, maybe some stops on the ground. That would be great. This is, to me, the perfect game to play Brian Asamoah, but I'm over it because Ed Donatel is just set in his ways. Nothing we can do about it. if you can do damage control against the rushing attack of the Chicago Bears, then you're ahead of the curve because you want this game. You want the Bears offense to be in the hands of Justin Fields, completing 51% of his throws, 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, get sacked at an average of 4 times a game. And if Danielle Hunter is quiet yet again, then it's like, all right, bro, what are we doing here? If you can't get a pass rush, then after seeing Andy Dalton on Sunday so calm in the pocket, so poised, making throws without any sort of pressure whatsoever, anything's possible. But I've got the Vikings winning this game at home against the Bears. Final score prediction, 27-21. Comments time. Tokyo San. I keep seeing everyone praising Bradbury for his elevated play, and while that is awesome, the Vikings offense this season so far has been mediocre at best, so Bradbury suddenly playing lights out, but offense isn't that good. Clearly, Bradbury was not any measurable part of a problem in the offense, and his subpar play in his past seasons was simply media exaggeration. Either that, or as Bradbury is stepping up, other parts of the offense is regressing. With a mediocre offense and a defense that very clearly has issues by seasons and will be lucky to even be in the playoffs, let alone worrying about a top seed. Well, Tokyo San, the problem here is that Bradbury, his first 3 years out of NC State, his struggles definitely impacted the offense. It was Matt Khalil bad. I can't tell you how many drives he single-handedly killed. The difference now, as far as why the offense is mediocre in spite of Bradbury's elevated play, is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has regressed as a player. Every statistical measure you can look up, he's on track to have his career worst season. The reason why the Vikings are winning in spite of that is because when Cousins is forced to make plays, basically the final possessions in the fourth quarter, anything between that and the first drive, the scripted drive, he just settles. He just goes with the flow of the game. But when he's forced to make plays, he makes it happen. The real problem, if we want to really talk about it, is the Vikings defense, which goes into the next comment. Jamie says, Randy, I love that you're reading viewer feedback. Why do you think with all the struggles, our veterans on defense, why are we not using some of these younger guys like Asamoah and other faster guys in some sort of package situations? Once we start playing real playoff contenders, we will be exposed just like the Philly game. This right here, Jamie, is exactly what I'm worried about. Defensively, of all the problems for the Vikings so far, defensively, you got to make adjustments to have any sort of potential of reaching peak success. Brian Asamoah, he needs to play. I'm tired of talking about it, but defensive coordinator Ed Donatel doesn't really seem to give a damn. And I said this on Purple Daily with Declan Goff. So far, Ed Donatel is a more likable Mike Zimmer. In fact, I saw this by Kevin Seifert. He tweeted this out earlier. He said, linebacker Danielle Hunter has 1 sack and a 5.6% pressure rate. Donatel said today of Hunter's shift to the 3-4, every guy that has ever made this transition, his first month looks a lot like that. There's a getting used to this role. It's very, very normal. In other words, nothing to see here. We're going to keep doing the same shit. What about not running blitz packages? What about your corners playing 7 yards off? The quarterbacks are just picking the secondary apart. What about anything? Is this all just an adjustment period? A month into the season, quarter of the way through 2022? We're just going to keep doing the same shit? Okay. Last comment is by Matt Alex. We need Jalen Reagor to be used more like a running back more often like Deebo Samuel. He needs to be part of the offense to take it to another level. I like the thought process here, Matt. The problem lies here that Deebo Samuel is an all-around threat. He can line up as a receiver. You can use him as a running back. You can put him in motion. So many different things. Whereas Jalen Reagor, and I noticed this watching the TV, when he's out there on the field, if I'm the defender lined up against him, I've got no worries about anything getting past me because if he does get the ball, I know it's only going to be a gadget play, a jet sweep or a screen pass. That's it. So when he's on the field, he doesn't have the threat to stretch the defense to say, okay, we can use him as Deebo Samuel in the run game because as far as I'm concerned right now, that's all he's being used for. Not much as a receiver downfield. We're back at it tomorrow. We'll see you then.